Hello, hello. Welcome in. It'll be just a second before we get started, just to let some people trickle in, as well as our alumni to join. Hello, everyone. I hope everyone's Monday is doing very well, going very well. Clearly, it's the end of my day. I'm starting to speak gibberish. We will give it just a second for Christian, who is going to be joining us here shortly, to join. Today, we're going to be talking all about budgeting for a term abroad. So if you have any questions that are specific that you'd like to get asked, feel free to add them into the comments, and we will make sure to answer them. Hey, Christian.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm great. How are you? Of
I'm doing well. Thank you for joining.
course, of course.
Awesome. Okay, well, we will get started. Thank you to everyone who is watching. Thanks for joining. My name's Katie. I'm Size Digital Marketing and Social Media Coordinator. Today, we're going to be talking all about budgeting and how to budget specifically for your term abroad. Christian and I have a very little bit of a different experience as alumni of semester programs rather than the summer programs, which most of you guys are going to be wanting to go for, but we do have some tips from summer programs as well that we can add in. We are joined by Christian, who is one of our SCI alumni and a SCI ambassador. And if you haven't joined before, a quick rundown about the ambassadors are they're a group of carefully selected students who recently finished up a SCI program with us. And then they are able to really explore and have the opportunity to share their own experiences abroad with prospective students, and also learn a little bit more about their own knowledge of international education. So, Christian, who are
Yeah.
you? Where did you study? Tell us a little bit more about your time in your program.
Yeah. I'm Christian. Right now I'm a junior at William and Mary. And last spring I did a semester at John Cabot University in Rome, which was a great time. Um, yeah, I had a blast over there. Uh,
Awesome. Well, thank you. Like Christian, I'm also a Sci alum. I studied in spring 2017 in Florence, so I do have a little bit of a Florence perspective. We also talked to Brett, who's another staff member of Sci, who is also a Sci Florence summer and semester student as well. So that one is already up on our YouTube. If you haven't gotten the chance to watch it, you can have some insight from him as well. Okay, Christian, could you share three quick tips about making the most of your time abroad and budgeting in general? Whatever you might
yeah.
think of.
Uh, yeah, of course. I mean, just general tips. I feel like we talk about it a lot, but navigation, like that's a big one.
Hmm.
Um, and then find you're gonna want to experiment a lot, but find also places that you're comfortable. Especially we're gonna be talking about budgeting today, so maybe you find a place that has reasonably priced dinner. So if you don't want to cook one night, it's good to have that spot you could always rely on. And then talk to your professors because they could, I mean, one, you're going to want to get to know them for classes, but also they're going to have a lot of advice for you. So if you want help finding maybe a restaurant or places to travel that won't break the bank. The professors are super knowledgeable, and they're especially my experience, they were all super kind of excited to help me, and they wanted me to enjoy my time abroad.
Hmm. Good. Incredible. Well, yeah, I agree with all of those. The professors are huge, like, and even our sci staff, they live there. They
Yes.
know what they're gonna be, what you can, how to help, and if you need restaurant recommendations or anything like that, they're the ones to go to. Um, if you had one tip about budgeting specifically that you could give someone before they head abroad, what would it be?
Yeah. I mean, be flexible. I think a lot of times we could get wrapped up in a very strict number for a
Hmm.
budget. Uh, have a range, um, but remember that this is going to be a great kind of once in a lifetime experience.
Yeah.
Um, so don't don't be too strict on your budget. Obviously, do what you need to do, but give yourself a range and measure. Well, is this going to be worth it when I look back, maybe 5, 10 years from now? Am I going to say yes, I was justified in this price?
Hmm. Absolutely. And then if you could go back tomorrow, what would you do differently for your budget?
Ooh, um, I would plan plan my trips a little better. Some of them were very last minute.
Hmm.
So maybe start a little early with your trips. Um, but I was pretty happy with how I did it. I kind of knew I kind of set, all right, I'll eat out X amount of days. And then I decided I would buy groceries. And in terms of groceries, they're very affordable. I
Hmm.
know at least I had a lot of experience buying groceries in Italy, and it's a lot cheaper than in the US. So if you eat in, it's gonna save you a lot of money to spend on maybe other experiences that you're gonna want to spend on.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I budgeted like to eat in on school nights, and then on not school nights I would go out kind of
Yes.
thing.
Yeah, that's a great way to do it.
And plus you're shopping daily for the most part because the food is gonna go bad a little quicker. Refrigerators are much smaller, so you're gonna be, considering all of those things, you'll be uh, buying smaller purchases at least
Yeah, that's a good
on a regular
point. I
basis.
think it wasn't as much like you were buying for the week, you kind of bought as you needed.
Hmm.
And especially all the locations are in a major city, so you're never far from a grocery store. Actually, the apartment that we were in was right above a grocery store. So I
I was
remember
down the road from one.
yeah, so there were times where I didn't have any breakfast and I would just kind of go down and buy some bread and Nutella
Hmm.
and make toast that morning before going to class.
A classic. It's
Yeah,
the best kind of breakfast there.
exactly.
Um, Speaking of splurging on Nutella, what was there something that you splurged on that you don't regret and totally worth it? And what was something that you don't think was worth splurging on?
Ooh, any experience I think is worth splurging, because those are memories you're gonna hold on to, especially if it's
Hmm.
with other people. Um, I will say that touristy experiences, don't be shocked when those are more expensive. For example, we
Hmm.
went to the Ferrari Museum, and that could get very expensive very quickly. And so I kind of had to realize, like, oh, I'm probably not going to get any merchandise here.
Yeah.
I think they had a really nice beanie, and I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll get that. And then I looked at the price tag, and I thought, no, that's not. For context, it was I think around $90 for a hat.
Oh,
So
wow.
yes, be careful with the touristy things. Um, I ended up doing. They had a little F1 simulator,
Hmm.
so I splurged on that because it was an experience. But
Hmm.
I I didn't really want to. I couldn't justify a high price tag on merchandise.
Totally. I don't blame you. There's certain things where I'm like, maybe I'm not. Maybe not.
Yeah.
But it's different for everyone. I know some people they want to go and get all of the designer goods and handbags and jackets and clothes and all the things. That wasn't me. I was there for the experience. Um, what did you notice, or if there was anything that you noticed that was visibly cheaper or more expensive than
Ooh,
being here in the States? And I know it's a little bit different every time because of
right.
the value of the dollar versus the euro.
Yeah. Um, I mean, rule of thumb was most things were going to be cheaper.
Hmm.
Um, Honestly, the only thing I saw that was consistently more expensive was gas, but I don't think anybody's going to be paying for gas. Uh, so I think everybody's all right in that sense. But yeah, especially breakfast, right? If you're thinking about a European breakfast,
Hmm.
it's usually a little pastry or baked good, and then especially in Italy, you just get a
Hmm.
little espresso or cappuccino. And if you go to the right places, you could get that for about,
€5.
yeah, at most, at
At
most. I
most,
mean,
yeah.
there's some places
I've
where,
seen in most places, for the most part, a shot of espresso is
right,
about €2.
yes,
So then what you're paying for is the pastry in reality.
yes. And there are some places, if you're willing to do a little exploring, I think the cheapest place I found was maybe uh €3 for a croissant and an espresso. And then that was, if I ever needed breakfast in the morning, that was my
Hmm.
place to go.
Totally.
But I would say average of €4, which is around $4, give or take. It's small
Hmm.
enough that it's negligible.
Absolutely. Um, did you bring cash with you? If so, how much did you bring, or is it just worth to charge on the card? What would you say?
Yeah. I think it's worth it to at least have some on hand.
Mm,
Um, I ordered euros before going, because I didn't want to have to rely on the ATMs over there. I was a little paranoid about that, but I'm sure you'll be fine if you go to the right ones. But yeah, I ordered beforehand just to have, uh, I don't know. I think if I was going out on a trip, I wanted to have maybe €50 for like a weekend trip. But that I never usually touched it just because everywhere took card.
hmm.
And in terms of cards, I would say go into the bank and uh, ask someone at the bank what their recommendation is, because they're pretty good about telling you which cards are good for travel. For example, I
Yeah.
used the Capital One Saver card. That was the one my banker recommended, and they're very accepting, and that's why
Hmm.
it was one of the only ones they said I had a good chance of getting.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's great. And I think you get maybe like 3% on food and drink, which if you're
Hmm.
abroad, you'll be getting a lot of that. So look into which cards are best for travel, but I know Capital One
Absolutely.
Saver is very popular amongst uh, students, especially.
Totally. And look into things for sure. Sometimes American Express is not widely known in Europe, so just double check if that's your card. But just you can always go to those cards websites and see where they are and what their exchange rate's going to be and all the things. I myself can take girl math a little bit too seriously, so I took cash with me because I wanted the physical, tangible. This is how much money I have to spend this week,
Yeah,
rather than just, oh, it's just my card, it's fine. Um, so it's up to you and how you shop and spend
right.
your incredible. Um, and then I'm assuming since everything you use your card a lot, everything was pretty easy. There wasn't any unexpected fees or anything like that.
Yeah, it wasn't much. And my thought process was, well, I'll use my card for everywhere that takes card because I
Hmm.
had heard some stories of places only taking cash.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I kind of ended up with not using that much cash, just because I kept thinking, oh, well, there's gonna be a time when they only take cash, and I really didn't run into that
Yeah.
as often as I thought I would, but definitely have something on hand just in case you're, especially if you're on a trip and maybe you're
Mm-hmm.
somewhere that's not as touristy and you're really in need of whether it's a bottle of water or Gatorade and you're
Sometimes
just,
it's just easier to hand over
yeah,
a
that too.
euro.
Exactly.
There are like this morning Brett mentioned he was like it was kind of a bummer for me to have to go get my morning espresso for €2 18 or whatever with my card rather than just handing him €2.
Exactly.
So he was like I didn't need to charge my card for $2, but I did. Sometimes it's just easier to have it on for smaller purchases like that. Um, about how much do you think you spent per week on average? And how
Ooh,
much do you think people they should study? We did have someone send in a question asking how much to budget for food, etc. If from
yes.
your own opinion.
So if I'm remembering correctly, I think it was around, I mean, it's a broad range. It could be like
Mm-hmm.
50 to $100 per week. But again, that depends a lot on if you're cooking
Mm-hmm.
at home or eating out. If you're traveling, I would say expect to spend a little more, especially
Mm-hmm.
um, those weekend trips or anything like that. Because you're
Especially if you're
probably,
going outside of Italy as well. If you're going to another country where it might be just different
yeah,
form of
I
life.
know.
I went to
Switzerland is
Switzerland
is more
and I was
expensive.
like,
I
oh,
heard a lot. Yes. I think Germany was not too much more expensive. Same with France. Um, and then Spain was a little more, but it wasn't crazy. But yes, I heard Switzerland is more expensive and the UK is more expensive.
mm-hmm.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, just about 50 to $100 is what I would say per
Right.
week. I mean, it's very similar to how much you would budget in the US. It's just, you can get things for a little bit cheaper there.
Yeah.
You might get more there for the same price that you're budgeting here. Um, how did you track or split any shared costs between your roommates or your travel buddies or whatever? Do you have any, like, do you recommend creating a group with a food budget with your roommates, or how did you guys go
Hmm.
about that?
Yes. So one thing you'll pick up on very fast is that they don't like to split the check.
No, they don't.
So, um, the best way that
Venmo
we
becomes your
found,
friend.
yes, Venmo is huge. Make sure you have Venmo because it's so much easier for one person to pay the bill
Hmm.
and you just take a picture of it and everybody Venmos that person however much their meal
Hmm.
cost. And then if you want to divide out, if you got appetizers, then you could divide that. But it's so much easier for one person to pay it, and then everybody Venmo. And it's great too if you do have a credit card that has cash back. If you're the
Hmm.
one paying, you get the cash back for everything, and people Venmo you back. So it's a good strategy sometimes.
Absolutely. I know my roommates and I also lived by the I got dinner tonight, you get dinner tomorrow kind of mentality as well. And we would switch off back and forth. One of my roommates and I, we would travel together all the time. So it was just like, oh, I got lunch today, you get dinner, and then we'll flip it so that it's lunch and dinner about the same each day.
Right,
That kind of
exactly.
thing.
And another thing too is if you're on a trip, like a weekend trip with people,
Hmm.
um, sometimes it's easiest to just not even worry about it until the end of the trip, and then you could
Absolutely.
kind of pay all at once. Otherwise, you'll spend the whole trip kind of calculating, sitting there, and then next thing you
Yeah.
know, all the
Calculate
trip has
out
passed you
the
by.
lodging first and the lodging and the transportation first and then food. Just save your receipts and do it after the fact.
Exactly, yeah. Do it after
Yeah,
the trip.
completely understand. Um, and did you mostly cook at home or did you eat out? And how did the costs compare? But then also, with that, is food included? You were in Rome, so is there
Yes.
sort of some sort of meal plan?
Yes. So I did John Cabot's meal plan. Um, because it was, well, one, it was convenient for my days when I couldn't make it back to the apartment.
Hmm.
Um, and it ended up being fair pricing. I mean, it's depending on what level you get. I didn't get the unlimited. I think I got one of the smaller levels. Um, but I would say it's comparable to a US meal plan, maybe even a little cheaper. Um, but if you're hesitant, I would say one thing to convince you is the dining halls are so much better.
Yeah,
Um,
it's a
that
lot better food than in the
yes,
cafeterias than here.
it's it feels like you're eating out at a nice restaurant,
It's no
based off the food
sedex.
quality. Yeah, it's so look into a food plan at your host university for
If it
sure.
makes it easier or for your like schedule, it just makes it easier, then definitely look into it. My personal school class schedule, I had classes in the morning, I had classes in the afternoon. So I didn't really like I had time in between that I could go home and eat lunch. So I didn't necessarily need to have the meal plan because I wasn't running around or and also I knew where the dining hall was in Florence and it was not at all close to one of my classes. So I was like, I'm not even going to bother because my apartment's closer to the classroom than the dining hall is. So I'll just eat at home.
Yeah, that's true.
There's that
Schedule
too.
definitely factors into it for sure because my Tuesday, Thursdays was the same thing.
Yeah.
I had a lot of time in the middle of the day. So I'd usually go back to my apartment, cook up some eggs or something. But my Monday, Wednesdays were very tight and jam-packed, and also my
Hmm.
classes were right by the dining hall. So it just made sense for my schedule.
Absolutely. Um, was there anything you wish you bought while you were abroad, but you didn't?
Ooh. Um, I think I set my priorities, um, and I think I didn't want to go overboard with souvenirs, especially
Hmm.
because you have to consider the packing aspect.
Hmm.
So I don't know if there's anything that I wish I bought but didn't.
Hmm.
But I would definitely say like make sure you know what you want to buy before you go,
Sure.
because it's easy to get overwhelmed when you're there. So set your goals of if there is one particular souvenir you want, um, then I would say go for that. Like I really wanted an Italian suit, and
Mm,
that was my big purchase. Because outside of that,
it's
I
a
really
great
didn't.
purchase.
Yeah, I didn't buy any souvenirs other than that. That was my goal going into it. So if you could set a goal purchase, and know it before you go,
Yeah.
you'll be in a good spot.
My big souvenir, I got a bottle of perfume, of new perfume. And then I also I couldn't decide on a jacket or a purse. So I just didn't bother. Um, and then I ended up buying a €10 print, which is probably way too expensive. Um, a €10 print of a watercolor painting of the street that I lived on. And I don't know, I was just a random find. We were going through all these prints and I happened to find the street that I lived on. I was like, I walk past it every day. I'm getting it.
Yeah,
Um, the the chaos was then in budget to have to frame it when I got home and the price for that. But my big souvenir that I wish I'd got was an ornament, just to
that's
commemorate. I had a friend of mine, she got an ornament in every single city that, or locate country and city that she went to commemorate that. And I was like, that's genius
yeah,
because you have your Christmas tree done at this point.
exactly.
So we do have some additional questions. Let's see. Do you have to purchase the university meal plans prior to arriving, or can you add once you know the location and schedule, etc.? You can always add it once you get there. For the
Yeah.
most part, most of the schools will actually show it to you once you go through orientation as well.
And that's what I did as well. I added it once I
Yeah,
figured out how my day was going to be structured, and I had already been there a week or two.
yeah. Teresa, did that answer your question? Just wanted to double check. Um, Other than that, we had a few other questions come in from other students. What was the cheapest and safest way to travel to different countries or different parts of your country that you're based in?
Yes. So to travel to other countries, um, flights are going to be the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
They're just easiest. And you're going to have to do some research for flights because
Yeah.
one day Ryanair will be the cheapest, the next day it's not.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be Wizz Air the next day. So just, I know a lot of people use Skyscanner. I think too now, if you want to use AI, you could put into AI what's the cheapest flight to this from
Mm-hmm.
here to here, and it'll spit out, I think, fairly good results. Which that we weren't really using that at the time, but I think now it's a lot more accurate. But
The
yeah,
other
so
than that, definitely train travel, I'd say.
yes, train, especially within the
Mm-hmm.
country.
Mm-hmm.
The train is super affordable to get around the country.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Especially
did
the
that
regional
all the
trains.
time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the trains I saw was like for like 5, 6 euro, if not
Yeah.
highest is like 10 euro just to get from one location to another. Incredible.
Hmm.
How much do you think it usually is to travel for maybe a weekend?
Okay.
We
Weekend.
can definitely get more into this next week in the travel session as well.
Yeah.
But just in terms of budgeting, how much
Yeah.
do you think?
Um, well, I would
It
say you
depends
got to
truly where you're
consider
going.
your flights usually cost I've seen anywhere from like 40 to 100 is usually what people are willing to spend for flights.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have to tack on your daily meals.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people will eat out. I mean, it makes sense if you're traveling to another country for a weekend or just another city. And then housing. Airbnb
Mm-hmm.
is popular. Hostels are the most affordable for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But Airbnbs are good if you have a big group of people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then if Airbnbs are also good because if you want to cook breakfast in the mornings, then you usually have a kitchen in those. So
Absolutely.
that's, yeah.
And
And I
then you
think
also have a host that can give you tips and pointers
exactly,
for the most
yeah.
part, at least.
The hosts, at least in my experience, the hosts were open to answer any questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you ever go on the train from Florence to Rome? I'm nervous about getting to Rome for my flight home by myself. I did. I know I did. Did you go up to Florence from Rome?
I did not. So
Okay.
that's your question.
Taking the train from Florence to Rome is very easy, especially if you do the high speed. It's like an hour and a half total, and it's super easy. You just I'll put some more videos up and stuff about you know validating tickets and things like that here shortly. So you have some tips beforehand, but make sure just double check you have all of your stuff. Make sure you keep your luggage close to you, but you'll have a seat on if you take the high speed train and you book your seat. It's like booking an airplane. You pick your seat, unless you buy the most basic of basic spots. I never do. I just shell out for being able to make sure I have a seat on that train. But yeah, I completely understand being nervous, but you have no need to be nervous. It's pretty good, and there's a lot of people around that can help as well. Someone
Yes.
someone will see you look frazzled and go, "What's going on?"
The trains are great, especially in Italy. I never had any problems with the trains,
Mm-hmm.
and I was taking the trains a lot, and even solo travel on the trains. It's
Mm-hmm.
very intuitive, and the people are very helpful. And yeah, you could always ask, and people are
Yeah,
very friendly.
especially the staff members, they'll be able to help.
Yeah,
Is the high speed train more expensive? Typically, just a little bit more
yeah,
expensive. But it's not, it's also you're getting there in half the time. So
right.
it makes sense.
So exactly. And I think too, you have to look at how far you're going. So for a lot of
Yeah.
my trips, I wasn't going super far. I think the furthest I went on a normal non-high speed train was Pescata, which
Hmm.
was maybe it was a 4 hour train ride, but there was one spot where we had to switch trains, and so I had a little bit of a rest period to kind of walk around some tiny town. But the high speed train is great when we wanted to go up to Verona, and
Hmm.
that's very far north, obviously. So the high speed rail was the best way to do that and not have to worry about sitting on a train for 7 hours.
Totally, exactly. Another question someone sent in was, how much does a weekly grocery trip cost?
Ooh. Um,
Again, I guess
weekly,
it just depends on what you're
right?
buying. Brett was he earlier today, he was like, yeah, I was spoiling myself and getting veal and all that. And I'm like, yeah, because you can, because it's cheaper, but like,
Exactly.
you, sure, you don't need to. That's not what most people are going to buy.
Right, yeah. And I mean, sometimes you could go and say, well, I could buy a bottle of wine for 10 euros. And then if you're going,
Hmm.
to your friend's apartment or something, I know there were a couple times I was like, well, I shouldn't come empty-handed. Um, so
Yeah, but I'm also
exact
not going to lie from my own experience. The $2 box is not that bad because it's in
exactly,
Italy.
exactly. Um,
Uh,
so it is. I will say weekly is tough to break down because I feel like you went kind of every couple days,
yeah.
just because it was so accessible, that I kind of decided my meals usually the day of, and then
Hmm.
I would buy enough I would usually cook something, it would last me 2 or 3 days, and then go and buy the next one.
Absolutely. I would do a lot of sauces and like pasta just because I
Hmm.
know I could make up that for dinner and then I could leave my leftovers and reheat those on the stove.
Yeah.
Because my apartment did not have a microwave, but I know other apartments do.
Yeah, I don't think mine did either.
Um, or in the oven. Did you plan any? Oh, also about that, your grocery store trip will cost completely different whether you go grocery shopping at like a grocery store or at the market. Meats obviously can be a little bit more expensive at the market versus at
Hmm.
the grocery store. They're just as good. I was there in the spring, so my family came in for Easter. So I went to the market and we shelled out for Easter at the market. But typically I just bought all of my groceries at the grocery store down the road because it was a little easier and I didn't have to carry them as far.
Yes.
Um,
Oh, and one thing to add,
yeah.
the Italian foods are going to be much cheaper compared to
Hmm.
imported foods. So, your ketchups, your potato chips, your peanut butters, all that stuff that's kind of like American type
Hmm.
foods, they're going to be more expensive than you expect and way more expensive than everything else. Like, if you want pasta and sauce, that's going to be way cheaper
Yeah,
at the grocery stores.
absolutely. And if you are wanting to get, those things, you definitely like how you check out if you get produce or something. Yeah, so especially at grocery stores in Italy, you have to put a little plastic glove on your uh hand on before you grab any produce, and then you have to weigh it to get each individual price, and then most of them either have a checkout or a self checkout, so they're pretty
Yeah.
doable about either of those.
And I think you weigh it before you check out, if I remember
Yes.
correctly.
Yeah. Did you plan any trips prior to leaving for your semester, or did you plan once you were in Italy? I think that truly depends on when and if you have something absolutely that you want to book. I know I had specific places that I wanted to go to, so I made sure that they were booked beforehand and then just kind of hoped that people wanted to join and booked them after the fact with me.
Yeah, I was the only I didn't know anybody when I went, so I didn't
Hmm.
want to commit to anything. So I ended up making plans after I had gotten there and met everybody. And it worked out really well. I didn't have to plan too far in advance. I mean, if you decide to go the week of, the flights are gonna be a little more expensive. But other than that, you could book a couple weeks out, and
Hmm.
it's not hard.
Yeah, exactly. Completely agree. And then if there's not any other questions, I've got one more question, and it's gonna be a fun one. Phone plans. What do you suggest? We had someone say that AT&T wanted them to pay $270, and they just wanted to know any other tips. I know I did not use a specific phone plan. I had international specifically for when I went out of country, and then I just relied on Wi-Fi myself. And because there was other people around me that had Wi-Fi or had data if they needed it. But what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, I've seen a lot of people do a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
I know some people got the little uh, chips for their phone, the
Mm-hmm.
international, um, and that was, I think, more price effective, but it kind of came with its own troubles where it took people a while to get them, so they were out
Sure.
without their phone for the first few days. Then you have the challenge of you're working with an international number.
Mm-hmm.
So people trying to text your US number are going to have problems. Um, I think I went with the international plan from AT&T out of convenience, especially for the whole semester. It was nice to just get that plan and not have to worry about anything,
Mm-hmm.
especially traveling. Um, I didn't want to have to think too hard about what I was going to do. I wanted to have my phone kind of ready to go, especially if I
Yeah.
got lost somewhere.
Yeah.
That was kind of my big concern.
And about that, we'll mention this in the travel session next week, but you can download the map on Google Maps onto your phone and then just use it like a paper map. Zoom into the streets and stuff like that. Highly recommend that so you're not using data to search up different things on there. And then other than that, you can also uh use it. You can get an eSIM for a specific amount of data that they've got that now. It's pretty easy to use. So there's all sorts of stuff. Before we get going, is there any other questions from anyone here since we went through all of the questions um, that people had submitted? If you don't have any questions, that's no problem. Or if you think of something later, we can always answer those for you as well. Um, but uh, yeah, so that's all the questions that I had written down so far for you. If you do have other questions, oh, did you go to the Amalfi Coast? I did.
Uh,
Oh, I did. Did you?
okay. I did not go there. I went near there to a beach, probably a little, not too far, but
Yeah,
yeah, I heard great things about Amalfi.
absolutely. Yeah, I went to Positano and Ravello. They were both gorgeous. Definitely recommend. They're going to be very busy this summer, but that's just because it's the summer and it's high peak tourist season. Um, but they are gorgeous. Um, but yeah, so thank you all for joining today. Special thank you to Christian for joining us. Um, if you do want to get in touch and have any specific questions for Christian, just let me know. You can always send a DM here, and I can send any questions over to him. Other than that, if you have any questions for the admissions team or for your admissions counselor, feel free to reach out to them, or you can email admissions@sciprograms.com. We are always available to answer all of your questions, so please reach out anytime. And thank you so much. Next week, we are going to be meeting, going live again on Wednesday at 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific. So that is 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. 11 a.m. and 5 p.m. Central on Wednesday. So that will be great, specifically talking about travel and travel tips from alumni. Um, And I did just hear that most of the people in here are from our fall students. So we are very excited for all of you guys as well, to be joining us in the fall. So if you do have any specific semester questions as well, feel free to send those over to us and we can answer those. If you have any other questions, just reach out. I'm the only one behind our social media, so I will be the one that you get to see and who will be answering those questions for you. So thank you guys so much. And thank you again, Christian.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.